So welcome to the third talk on the second session of the first day. It's getting complicated. This is Dan Moore, also with the iRODS Consortium. He's going to talk about the work in kind of porting an existing code base with NetCDF interfaces that we had with iRODS from the before times, bringing them up to speed and getting them ready. So iRODS and NetCDF updates. Go for it, Dan.
That's right. Thanks, Terrell, and hello to everyone. I'll be talking about this NetCDF plugin, which basically is a set of APIs and microservices that allow access to NetCDF formatted data on an iRODS system. So what is NetCDF itself? It's a machine-independent data format that lets you store your data in a self-descriptive way. So symbols are possible and comments are possible, as we'll see, as well as dimensions and data types in ints and floating point. It allows all this to be stored in a flat file, and when you hear flat file, you should think a sequence of bytes, whether that's on a disk or a data object in iRODS. So as I said, the abstractions mimic variables, named variables containing data of various dimensions, if you choose, in a hierarchical arrangement within that flat file. So it mimics a directory structure within that one object. So you basically have a data set, and that is the object that we're referring to. And the groups, so you can have variables and attributes which are like comments that are attached to them, and the dimensions and data type of that variable are all well defined. You can have them at the root level folder or group. It's actually called a group in NetCDF parlance. And of course, you can have subfolders of that main group, which also contain data sets. So as I alluded to, this API plugin allows access to those data sets when they are stored in the iRODS virtual file system. So what actually happened was that this was a functional plugin in 4.1, but of course there's a lot of demand for NetCDF in the community. So this was ported over the last year in sort of little spurts of work. It was ported first the C++ code itself, and then of course the make system. But just to summarize, we had a functional plugin on 4.1.8. I ran it on 4.1.12. I started working on the C++ code to alter the sort of the expectations of the API on the plugin, which were slightly different. Also, there was an aspect of this plugin that allowed, I believe it's over OpenDAP. I could be wrong, but I think it was over OpenDAP that this was capable of serving a lot of that NetCDF data over a web interface, and that used the Jansen C++, which as of 4.2.8 is no longer linked into the server, and therefore we need to use the newer and more modern NLM and JSON library. So as I also said, the packaging is now better, more convenient to install. You get, I mean, they were packages before. There's still packages that you get and you can install, but it's now more flexible and can build on more operating systems more easily with the same CMake lists file. And additionally, the hooks were put in to allow this to be tested and hardened against future changes that might affect things, might break things. So our CI now has this, and it's released for 4.2.8 and 4.2.9 now. There is a slight wrinkle, I think, with H5 or HDF5. Just to go back a little bit in history, HDF5 can be a foundation for storing NetCDF And so you can actually store H5 files, and H5 is the extension often that contain NetCDF data on top of that layer. And so during testing, I found out, and it looked as if also in 4.1 this was true. You cannot yet go down any levels of hierarchy and still get access to the variables and their attributes and such. That should probably be looked into, as well as if the community requires it, any additional HDF5 functionality that may be desired. And we hope to solicit that and integrate it into the plugin. And that's what I have. Did I lose audio?
No, you're still good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, all right. Spooked me there for a moment. Are there questions?
So we've got one question coming in, I think, a couple. And so you've got, we've got example code, I think, in the repo. We've got
in the tests, yes, you can see examples of the microservices themselves. That's how they'll be called from rules or from clients connected to the server.
Right. Okay. Let's see, which microservices are available to access this functionality? Do you have a quick list in your head? Are there, how many are there?
There is a main one that is basically an Inquire, MSI NC Inc. With ink spelled with a Q on the end.
Yeah.
And that gets you access to a lot of things, which you think the number of variables, the number of dimensions declared in whatever group, and also the number of groups, and you can drill down into those one at a time. But the tests do show that, and I believe that's in the microservices rules subdirectory.
And then there's also some writing microservices, or is it just one? I don't remember. I'm
sorry.
Some writing, you've got read and write. You've got inquiry, and then you've got one where you can edit it as well, right?
Okay, I'm not sure that I saw that in the tests, but
okay.
I can certainly partake in engage in any dialogue and look further if, yeah.
Right, and we don't have, I don't know that we have a list of people who have been asking about this necessarily, but yeah, we're very, very interested in exploring the space with all the community as you find things that are interesting to do with this. Another question is the NetCDF plugin like the Globus connector as it relates to iRODS? Like how does it, so the Globus connector is a plugin for the Globus system. This is not that. This is a plugin for the iRODS server.
Basically interoperability with the NetCDF format when the files, it's not, when you're not talking about a disk file system, but a virtual file system, AKA iRODS.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then another question from Ton says, can you test if a data object is NetCDF compliant? Like if there's a format that is not quite right, is there a way to validate that in some way, or that's not what this tool is for?
Currently, I believe you could do that, but you would have to try the microservice, and if it failed, you'd have to catch that case.
I see. So you could just see the negative space by it not parsing correctly, basically. Right. Yeah. Okay.
As I say, if you look in the test rules in the .r files, in microservices rules, you'll see that examples of that. And if you stick the wrong format, that will definitely fail. I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions from community with their hand up? Otherwise, we will let Dan run away. All right. Thank you, Dan. Good job.